Recently, I've been trying to find new ways of living my life a little bit more sustainably, and one of the ways that I found is to make my own paper. When I shared that with people, I had quite a few reach out to me and ask me how I did it. And luckily, it's surprisingly easy, kind of fun, and I also love attention. So here's a tutorial on how to make recycled paper at home. You'll need paper scraps. Anything will work. I use bills to give it an edge, and any mail that I want open. You'll also need scissors, a jar, a picture frame with a screen glued on the back, and a blender. Oh, and a ton of towels because it's very, very messy. The first thing that you're going to do is just cut up the paper into little scraps. The smaller the better, because eventually you'll be soaking them. It's much easier to saturate smaller pieces. Since they're so small, it might be easier to make a mess. And if that happens, I don't know, just clean it up, I guess. Once you're done, fill your jar of scraps with water. Try to make sure there's no air bubbles, so give it a stir with a spoon or something if you need to, but you want to make sure everything's fully saturated. And then you're going to set it next to your dying mint cuttings and the findings of your last hike, and you're going to let it soak for 24 hours or, like me, 5 minutes. Take a drink of water because you deserve to be hydrated, and you definitely are not going to spill it on yourself. Once your paper has had ample time to soak, go ahead and pour it into the blender and make sure to get all of the scragglers that are doing their best to not be ripped to shreds. Blend it to your heart's content, and the smaller, the more that you blend it, the more uniform the color of the paper will be. And also, pro tip, if you're missing therapy for the day, go ahead and screen into the blender so that your neighbors won't be able to tell what's going on. I'm adding some food coloring. You can definitely experiment with the color as much as you want, but regardless, you'll end up with this delicious looking mixture of pulp. Add some more water. You want it to be as liquidy and gross as possible, and then take it outside and try not to spill on the way. The screen that you use will be the most important tool. This is what's actually making the paper. I just went to the dollar store, got a picture frame, added some window screen with a hot glue gun, and there you go. Also, bring your fur babies outside so that they can eat grass and not the food you bought them. So this part is definitely the hardest, but it's not hard at all. You're just going to dip your screen into the bowl of pulp and kind of gently shake it around until you get the water out. You want it to be a nice and uniform layer of pulp that will eventually be your paper. I set it on the ground and then I place a towel over the top of it so that the paper doesn't stick to me or the sponge that I use to get the moisture out. And then, I use a kitchen sponge and I try to just press all of the water that I can out. This is probably the most laboring task, which is definitely saying something. It definitely spend the most time at this point. You want to get as much water as possible out before you lay it out to dry. The more water you get out, the less likely it is that your paper will rip and have impurities. But I mean, it's homemade paper, it's not going to look amazing. And then gently pull back the towel and you're going to get ready to place it down. So my drying station that I've laid out, since I am doing it outside, it's very easy for any kind of dirt and bugs to get in the way, which you can definitely work with. But I also went ahead and set out some weights so that wind doesn't knock over my drying station or anything. But you can definitely do this inside if you'd like, or in a much cleaner area. It's up to you. So all you're going to do is flip your screen upside down, and then you're going to gently tap the screen so that the paper will pull itself off and lay down on your drying rack. The more moisture that you are able to get out in the step before this, the easier it will be for the paper to pull itself down without you having to manipulate it at all. And then I like to take my sponge and really press it down into the towel so that it's flat and it doesn't have any jagged edges, and it's just much easier to manage this way, but you don't have to do this. This is an optional step. And then you'll just repeat this process until you've used all of your pulp or you're tired and your arms hurt. Between each layer of paper that you're using, definitely put down another towel to kind of keep the papers from sticking together, and then just start a new batch right on top. Or if you're done, make sure to top the finished batch with a rag and set it out to dry for at least 24 hours. after your paper has had ample time to dry and you definitely didn't impulsively try to get it sooner, you're left with the recycled craft that you've made yourself, which is fun and sustainable and just cool. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you tried it yourself.